For years, he possessed a chameleon-like gift, an uncanny ability to slip effortlessly into any character placed before him. In a perfect world, that talent alone would have opened countless doors, allowing him to showcase the full breadth of his artistry. Audiences would have witnessed a long line of unforgettable performances. But reality seldom follows the perfect script. Instead, it took him 3 long decades in the industry to reach the moment that would finally redefine his career. 30 years of grit and unwavering determination, of pushing forward through frustration, disappointment, and more than a few painful failures. Yet those same years were also spent quietly sharpening his craft, developing nuance, presence, and a magnetic screen charm that could only be earned through time. His long-awaited breakthrough would ultimately arrive in the form of one of cinema's most unforgettable performances. But the road to that moment was far from glamorous. Christoph Waltz had built a steady resume on the theater stage and on German television, but the roles he received rarely stretched his abilities. He had become trapped in a cycle of predictable typecasts and flat, one-note characters, never given the space to explore the full complexity he was capable of delivering. Then, decades into his career, everything changed. He landed the role of Hans Landa in *Inglourious Basterds*, a part so intricate and layered that Quentin Tarantino openly feared it might be impossible to cast. He simply couldn't find anyone who could embody the character's contradictions. Landa was a villain unlike any other. Charming yet chilling, polite yet predatory, his intentions hidden beneath a veneer of disarming warmth, every conversation felt like a quiet, strategic duel, his pleasant delivery masking a dangerous intelligence. His speech flowed with a smooth, almost soothing confidence, all while carrying an undercurrent of menace. But when Waltz auditioned for the role, something clicked instantly. Tarantino watched him perform and felt a sudden, electric certainty. The seemingly unplayable character had finally found his perfect interpreter. Tarantino quickly recognized that Christoph Waltz possessed a rare kind of charm, an elegant, controlled charisma that could slip seamlessly into the intricate personality of Hans Landa. Landa wasn't the sort of villain audiences had grown accustomed to in modern films. Most antagonists wear their cruelty openly, broadcasting their malice in every glare and gesture, but Landa thrived behind a polished veneer of civility. He moved through scenes with the poise of a diplomat rather than the brutality of a monster. His smiles were warm, his compliments smooth, and his manners so impeccable that they almost felt inviting. And yet, beneath that courteous exterior, there pulsed an unshakable tension. Every polite word seemed to conceal something sinister, making the audience feel as though they were sitting across from a predator disguised in silk and charm. Even at his most gracious, even when he appeared almost harmless, viewers instinctively felt the danger radiating from him. What deepened the unease surrounding Landa was his total absence of ideological loyalty. He wasn't driven by belief, devotion, or any deeper cause. He saw the war simply as a ladder, a convenient system he could climb to elevate himself. In his world, alliances were temporary conveniences, and loyalty was a negotiable commodity. This opportunism made him a threat not only to the people he hunted, but also to the very regime he served. He could just as easily work against his own side if it meant securing a more comfortable future. His willingness to negotiate his surrender, bargaining for immunity with the same calm confidence he used to interrogate his victims, revealed a man whose moral compass had long since been traded for self-preservation. And yet, the fascinating complexity Waltz brought to Landa wasn't limited to villainy. When he later portrayed Dr. King Schultz in Django Unchained, he carried that same layered subtlety into a character who initially appears to be a traditional hero. But even Schultz, with all his good intentions and evident kindness, possessed a depth and quiet unpredictability that reminded audiences of Waltz's ability to make every character, good or evil, feel vividly, unsettlingly human. Dr. King Schultz presents himself, at first glance, as a man guided by principle, a figure with a seemingly firm moral compass and a calm, measured approach to justice. Yet beneath that polished exterior, many of his choices are quietly driven by practicality and self-interest. His partnership with Django, for example, emerges not from a sudden surge of altruism, but from necessity. Schultz needs Django's help to identify and secure the bounty on the Brittle brothers, and Django's freedom becomes contingent on his willingness to cooperate. Freeing him from chains may appear noble, but in context, it's a calculated transaction, a decision rooted in utility rather than moral obligation. Though Schultz avoids reveling in violence, he nonetheless operates comfortably within morally gray terrain, navigating a world where legality and morality rarely align. Even when he frames his actions as lawful justice, Schultz often remains emotionally detached from the violence he inflicts, treating it almost as a procedural requirement rather than a personal burden. This moral ambiguity reaches its clearest expression during the escalating tension with Calvin Candie. Throughout the negotiations, Schultz maintains his signature composure, sharp, articulate, and perceptive. But when Candie demands a handshake to seal their transaction, Schultz's facade begins to fracture. The idea of acknowledging Candie's cruelty, even symbolically, becomes intolerable. His refusal to comply can be read as a principled rejection of Candie's barbarism and the slave trade he embodies. Yet, at the same time, his action exposes a streak of selfish impulse. Unable to swallow his disgust, Schultz acts on emotion rather than strategy, shooting Candie in a split-second burst of defiance. In doing so, he sacrifices the safety of Django and Broomhilda, jeopardizing everything they've worked for. It's a moment that reveals both the depth of his conviction and the limits of his restraint, a reminder that even characters who wear the mask of righteousness can be driven by turbulent, conflicted motives lurking just beneath the surface. Yet perhaps the most fascinating thing about Christoph Waltz is how effortlessly intriguing he remains even when the cameras stop rolling. Whether he's seated across from an interviewer or appearing on a crowded stage, his conversations radiate an intellectual charm, sharpened by a delightfully dry sense of humor and a surprising degree of emotional intelligence. He has an uncanny ability to command a room without ever raising his voice. Instead, he draws attention through the precision of his words, the weight of his pauses, and the quiet confidence that seems to settle around him like an aura. Every answer he gives feels carefully considered, as though he's engaging in a subtle verbal chess match rather than participating in the usual, predictable interview routine. He doesn't speak to fill silence. He speaks to say something meaningful. What makes him even more compelling is his humility. He's perpetually reluctant to accept praise, often deflecting compliments with a modest smile, a raised eyebrow, or a wry remark that shifts the spotlight away from himself. And yet, despite this understated demeanor, Waltz has managed to captivate both Hollywood and worldwide audiences, carving out a place as one of the most unforgettable performers in modern cinema. Through a blend of meticulous craft, rich complexity, and undeniable charisma, he has breathed life into some of the most iconic and psychologically intricate characters of our time. Beyond his screen presence, what truly sets Waltz apart is the rare blend of intellect and curiosity that shapes the way he navigates both his career and the world around him. He approaches acting not merely as a profession, but as a discipline, a way of exploring human nature with the precision of a scholar and the sensitivity of an artist. In interviews, he often redirects conversations toward ideas rather than accolades, revealing a mind more interested in understanding motivations, contradictions, and the subtle mechanics of storytelling than in basking in fame. This thoughtful approach has become a signature part of his allure. He makes you feel that behind every performance lies a deep reservoir of reflection, intention, and craft. And it's that combination of insight, restraint, and quietly blazing talent that continues to draw people to him, both on and off the screen.